Hello everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. I'm sitting here and I'm just kind of looking through news stories. I'm awake at this point. It's like 1:40, 1:42 in the morning. Like most people who are somewhat prone to insomnia, they do the news. They don't really, that's just me. That just makes myself feel better. My wife is gone. It's either cold bed or doing the news. And so fuck it. I'm gonna do the news. Let's do the news. Let me check my sound first. While I check my sound, guys, please hit the notification bell. I know the notification process on YouTube is not necessarily perfect. I do videos all time around, and at this point, it is the best that we got. Now, as somebody who used to work in software, who works in software, it's not always precise. Like, I would imagine YouTube is a massive company, it has massive resources. And that being said, it still probably has bugs and shit in the software and everything else. It's not perfect process. Whether it's intentional, whether it's not, whether it's a fuck up, whether it just doesn't work all that well, whether there's bugs, whatever. It's the only thing we got. So please hit the notification bell. That's the first part. Second part. Please like the video. Please share the video. Please subscribe. And I say that, don't like it until you actually like it. I mean, if you don't like it, don't like it. If you dislike it, do what you gotta do. Dislike the video. But just be aware. Those things help in the metrics. Even if it's not necessarily this thing of, even if it doesn't necessarily affect the video per se, it still helps with the metrics. Not to mention, it gives me an idea of the content that you guys like versus dislike. So that it's that. So let's now that the grunt work has been finished. Oh, wait, advertisements. Within 2 weeks, Jordan Sheridan is going to be here. He's coming here on Wednesday, not next week, but week after next. That should be an awesome interview. I'm also trying to get Tim Canova on this show. We've been, I guess, exchanging emails back and forth, but he hasn't necessarily sat down or confirmed the date. I'm going to have to redo that tomorrow, send him additional emails, not just to him, to a few other people who I want to get on the show. But those people should be coming up, and that should be damn interesting. I try to keep guests coming on the show. Censorship. Let's talk censorship. If something is taking place in the world, and as that something is taking place in the world, you have adults, you have human beings. These human beings are adults and are stuck with the philosophical responsibility of dealing with their government, their governmental affairs. In fact is, if those human beings who's responsible for dealing with the governmental affairs, philosophical control of the government itself, those people need information to do that. Not just information from our own political state, but information from external. Because the fact is, our country has certain political allegiances, and we didn't need to know, being responsible for that country, whether we should, how we should deal with those political allegiances based upon evidence, information, and the things that take place in our world. Censorship works against that process. If you are telling me that as an adult, there's certain information that I should not see, there's certain information I should not know, my question becomes, why shouldn't I know it? Who doesn't want me to know it? And is it that I shouldn't know it, or is it that certain factions of the public, certain factions of the world don't want me to know it? And fact is, if it's certain factions of the world don't want me to know it, that's even more of a reason that I should know it. More of a reason I should see it. And it shouldn't be a situation where you're censoring and keeping people away from that information. If you're doing so, you really need to answer the question of why. Why? Is it really state secret, or is it really you just concealing for somebody else? One of the things that shocked the shit out of me, I was listening to an interview by John Pilger. It took place, I think, several years ago. And he was talking about British coups. Now, this is interesting to me from America, because I look at this stuff from America's standpoint, and I know some of the coups that the CIA propagated around the world. But he's talking about British coups. And he's asking the journalist who he's talking to, why doesn't the British public know about this? Why? Why? How can they not know about this? Their country has been involved in literally toppling other countries. Isn't that not important? Isn't that something that the population should know that his country is doing? If you are a country of laws, should you not know if your country is doing things to adversely affect and destroy other countries? And is that something that is within your constitution, your legal apparatus, to allow? Meaning, is there something you voted on? Is there something that you want your resources going to? Is that something that you want? Now, I look at this again from the American perspective, and I say, is what they doing affixing and aligning with the Constitution of the United States? And if it is not, it is extra-constitutional, which means it is to some degree illegal. We need to know. We can't control our government. We can't keep an eye on the apparatus. We can't keep this Frankenstein monster from roaming around the globe and beating other countries and beating us if we don't know. If you're censoring, you need to answer the question of why you're censoring and whether or not that censorship is actually productive and who's it productive for. Abby Martin and Max Blumenthal did a video on Israel's violence towards Palestinian protesters. 100 snipers shot heads, knees, and groins of protesters. They fired into a crowd of thousands, I think 40,000. 773 were shot, at least up until this point. There may be more, and 20-something had died. You fire into a crowd of peaceful, relatively peaceful protesters. You're snipers. You know exactly who you're hitting. Israel itself said, we knew exactly what we were doing. We knew where every bullet landed. In the heads, in the groins, and in the knees. Some we want to murder, others we want to cripple and handicap. This included the press, by the way. They made no distinction between the protesters and the press. They didn't want people showing the story, so you shoot and kill journalists. This is what they were doing. This is the flat fact reality of what was taking place. You can say they had burning tires. Okay, you can say they had rocks. I grant you all of it. Grant you all of it. You're occupying somebody else's land. And in occupying somebody else's land, those people are stateless. And they're trying to get this international law saying, yes, we're going to abide by the law, allowing us to return back to our homeland. But Israel doesn't want that. It doesn't want that. These people are stateless. They're living in horrendous conditions. And Israel takes the opportunity to add to that by shooting and maiming and killing into a large population. There is no sugarcoating that. That is what it is. That's the grim reality. That's what other human beings did to other human beings who are already living in miserable situations. That's flat fact. You can add whatever you want to it. That's flat fact. That's a flat fact. You can expand out to the wider idea of Israel, this larger context of all this stuff. But the flat fact of what took place is Israel intentionally fired into a large crowd and massacred a lot of people, including journalists, because they didn't want those people reporting the story. Now, other journalists have decided to cover the story. Abby Martin, fucking ferocious, aside from being absolutely drop-dead gorgeous, and Max Blumenthal. They covered the story. And they nailed the story, saying, this is what was taking place. This is what was taking place. This is the carnage that is taking place. The West gets a sanitized version. The Western leaders say nothing about this. They would scream at the top of their lungs about Iran, but they say nothing about this. A massacre, a literal massacre. YouTube bans that video in 28 nations, many of which are in Europe. They banned the video. Nothing was said that was wrong. Everything that was said was factually correct. Nothing was denigrating any particular person. Nothing was bashing any particular religion or anything else. It was a video of, this is what took place. And YouTube, we don't like you giving that much reality to the public. You're cramping our style, man. Stop telling all that factual information to the public. What is the public going to do with all of this factually true information about the wider world to which they find themselves? What is the public going to do with this factually true information? How are they going to use this information to pursue their affairs? We're uncomfortable at YouTube headquarters with giving this factually correct and true information to multiple nations around the globe. Sorry. Take a look at this. YouTube censors Empire Files Abby Martin on Israeli militarism. According to the Empire Files official Twitter account, YouTube sent the program a notice saying, "We have received a legal complaint regarding your video." Telesur presenter Abby Martin episode highlighted Israeli military violence against Palestinians has been blocked by YouTube in 28 countries for supposedly violating local laws, the presenter has announced. What local laws? Nothing in the video was false. Nothing in the video was defamatory or inflammatory. It just showed you reality. That's all. Here's a notebook. Here's a notebook. This is a notebook. You show somebody getting shot by an Israeli sniper. That's a person being shot by an Israeli sniper. That's truth. That's reality. That's grim reality, but that's reality nonetheless. What's your issue? If these states have an issue with the grim reality, maybe they should change the grim reality, not hide the grim reality. You should show it. You need to show it. Unless people know, they can't do anything about it. The reason they want to sanitize and hide this is because they don't want people to know. If people know, there will be more of an incentive to actually do something about the fact that Israel has just murdered a lot of people. Let's keep going. This woman is fierce. According to the Empire Files official Twitter account, YouTube sent the program a notice saying, "We have received a legal complaint regarding your video and notifying you that the video will be blocked in 28 countries, including the United Kingdom, France, Italy, and Israel, of course, and Italy." The blocked episode featured an interview with journalist Max Blumenthal about the rise of militaristic and racist attitudes towards Palestinians in Israel. Max Blumenthal later notified RT, "My comments were based entirely on my experience, on my extensive journalistic experience in the region, and my analysis was clinical in nature. At no point did I denigrate anyone based on their own faith or ethnicity." Blumenthal believes that the Anti-Defamation League is behind the censoring. It participates in YouTube's flagging system and considers action tied to boycott, sanctions, and divest in opposition to Israeli occupation as racism. Think about that. Think about that shit. Israel is a political state. That's what it is. It's like the United States saying we're a Christian nation. And they're saying we're a Christian nation. If you criticize the fact that we've been out there murdering people and bombing other nations, then you're being racist towards Christians. And I know it's not racist, but you're being defamatory towards our religious denomination. It's not racist. It's a state. That's what it is. It's not a religious state. It's a state. They try to cloak themselves in religion in the same way that Democrats try to say that if you criticize us, you're racist, or Hillary Clinton, if you criticize me, you're sexist. It's a political stunt. And this is part of the problem of YouTube's political affiliations and political associations. They've hired a political organization. That political organization believes that anything talking about Israel in this case is somehow a bad thing, missing the fact that they're doing it. If you're murdering somebody, you're murdering somebody. That's not bias. That's telling reality. Showing it is showing a grim reality. If you don't like the reality, change it. Put pressure on them to stop murdering those people. But don't hide it. Don't hide it. The same thing with the food stuff. The ag-gag laws. It's like, if you're telling me that it's so gross and disgusting that you can't show me, maybe the problem is that it's gross and disgusting and you don't want to show me. In order to get that across, you need to show it. Somebody gets shot in the face, show it. You have soldiers who are coming back to this country mangled. Show it. Don't glamorize, don't, spew all of this time and energy on it. But show it. You have a population of adults. Let them be adults. They need to see this stuff. They need to be able to make decisions on the things that the government and other forces around the world are doing. They need to be able to see those things. You cannot make honest conversation or decisions without having access to the information. It is abominable that they're going to hide this. It is abominable that they're going to hide it. There needs to be legislation to some degree regulating YouTube's and Facebook's ability to hide, conceal, and to censor information. I understand they're a private corporation. I get it. But at this point, they're open to billions of people. And they're open to such billions of people that in many respects, it becomes this thing from which people see and receive information. They've made the argument that they're into this thing of free speech. That's not free speech. That's the opposite of free speech. That's the opposite. You need to be aware of the political affiliations of the organizations that you hire and the information that they're going to give you within the decisions that you make. And I'm talking about YouTube. If you're hiring a league that says criticism of a state is somehow racist, then you fucked up. You need to explain why you're blocking this video from Abby Martin. If everything in the video is true, if everything in the video is correct, if everything in the video, yes, it may be a perspective to some degree, but if this perspective can be challenged and the perspective is a legitimate perspective, you should not be the determining factor on if that's a legitimate perspective. This person was shot. I'm covering the fact that this person was shot. I'm covering the context of the history of that country and of that nation. And YouTube says, we don't want European nations seeing this. We don't like that. We don't like that. That's too much truth. Let's see the last part. Cooperation between Zionist forces and social media to censor pro-Palestinian media has been well documented. Last year, journalist Glenn Greenwald revealed that social media giant Facebook was actively working with the Israeli government to engage in censorship. Tel Aviv believes that online incitement is responsible for resistance to the occupation and actively seeks to suppress allegedly inflammatory posts. Essentially, social media has been working with the Israeli government to censor and tamp down on resistance to their open-air ghetto, to their apartheid state. That's amazing. Sad and amazing. Let's take a look at this one. Here's another article on it. YouTube has blocked 28 countries from watching a video of two journalists exposing the Israeli occupation. Presenter of the Empire Files, Abby Martin, interviewed author Max Blumenthal, who also criticized violence from Israel's military against Palestinian protesters. The program was broadcast on Latin American Telesur English. YouTube, owned by Google, says that the internet platform banned the video in 28 countries because it violates local laws. Most of the countries YouTube has blocked from seeing the video are European. Elsewhere, YouTube has added a warning to the video and blocked all interactive features. In response to user reports, we have disabled some features such as comments, sharing, and suggested videos because the video contains content that may be inappropriate and offensive to some audiences. So what? Anything can be offensive to anybody. You can have a video on cats and that video gets downvotes. So what? A kid drops his lollipop and the kid thinks it's the worst thing in the world. Am I really to take the kid's perspective that the world is ending because he dropped his lollipop? No, I'm not. I'm not. I have context to realize that the kid doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. Same thing with other people who are looking at this video and dislike what they're saying. It's reality. If you don't like it, don't watch. It's reality. Shouldn't be blocking it. Shouldn't be censoring it. These people are doing God's work, getting this stuff across to people. Nothing was even remotely illegal. But Blumenthal, author of the 51-Day War, Ruin and Resistance in Gaza, said, YouTube has claimed that it removed my interview on Israel-Palestine with Abby Martin to comply with the laws in 28 countries. However, nothing I did or said in discussion was even remotely illegal, even in countries with the strictest hate crime laws. My comments were based entirely on my extensive journalistic experience in the region, and my analysis was clinical in nature. At no point did I denigrate anyone based on their faith or ethnicity. Shining a light on recent acts by the Israeli military, the Empire Files video uploaded November 2015 draws attention to Israel's policies on Palestinian demonstrations. On 30th of March 2018, Israel armed forces shot at protesting Palestinians in Gaza. At least 17 died, it's up to 20-something, and hundreds more were injured. In the banned video, Blumenthal speaks to host Abby Martin about alleged shoot to cripple policy. Soldiers were cracking down on demonstrations with live fire to the legs, groin, knees, and in some cases, the head. It appears Israel is continuing such behavior in 2018. After March 30th shootings, Israel military tweeted, where is it? Everything was accurate and measured, and we know where every bullet landed. The tweet has since disappeared. When challenged by Vice in 2013, a spokesperson for Israel's military did not deny using such bullets that are illegal under the Hague Declaration, essentially flagrantly breaking international law. And even the firing and murdering, intentional, willful murder of civilians in protests is against international law. Silence. Crickets. And not just silence and crickets, suppression. Suppression. I didn't intend for this one to go this long, but I did want to point out that this is what's taking place. We don't want you to see it. Not only are we not going to talk about it, not only are we going to keep our mouths shut about this travesty, this massacre that is taking place with one of our quote-unquote supposed allies, we are also going to suppress content that reveals that information and delves into the story of what is taking place currently over there and what the West is fundamentally, shamefully ignoring. What they're shamefully ignoring. Good job, Abby Martin. Good job, Max Blumenthal. Keep kicking ass. YouTube needs to account and needs to explain itself. Needs to explain itself. I'll end this. Many like Max Blumenthal have worked tirelessly to educate and expose Israeli crimes that ignorant propagandize Americans around the world. Yes. They have. And they've taken shit for it, left and right. Yeah, Jenny, you're right. And they've taken their hits, they're taking their hits for it. I did not want this to go past because I wanted to shine a light on this thing of this is what these guys are doing over there, and you have YouTube hiding it. Working not necessarily on behalf of the Israeli government, but you can say working on behalf of the Israeli government, meaning not necessarily a direct relationship, but censorship, hiding reality. It's a problem. If YouTube wants to consider itself a free speech platform, that's not the way to do it. That's not the way to do it. Create some honest guidelines that people can hold by, but not this kind of random, we don't like this, so we're going to suppress this bit of information. Not that. That's bogus. They're adults. Adults can deal with the information. If they don't like it, downvote it and move the fuck on. It's for people to share. It's something that's taking place. I don't care what it is. Whether it's soldiers, whether it's this kind of state information. We are responsible of this government. Either we are or we're not. Either we are or we're not. Either this is a government of laws or not. Now, in this case, you have a private enterprise, but that private enterprise is hiding certain information that is true, that is factual, and in no way is breaking its own rules. They're tweaking their rules based upon the content that's coming up, and I'm saying that's a problem. They've broken no regulation and no rules in exploring and explaining this information. They're not lying, they're not denigrating, they're not doing anything wrong. This is a political thing. They're suppressing this for political reasons, not because it's not factually true. So, that is a problem. That is a fucking horrible thing. YouTube needs to cut that shit out. You need to cut that shit out. Or we need something else. We need something else. We need a free speech platform. We need a platform that doesn't do shit like this. That still monetizes videos. That still does the things that YouTube does good. But not shit like this. Or we need a union, or we need something. But there needs to be something that prevents this kind of corporate totalitarianism where they can make any decision on what they show, what they don't show for something that's done by millions and millions of people who use this platform. We need our own rule set. We need our own user, I guess you can call it, terms of service. But the terms of service cannot just be this kind of random willy-nilly thing where they can block and get rid of certain content for purely political reasons. They're shadow banning content, the same way that Facebook and Twitter is banning certain content. YouTube is doing the exact same thing. I'm saying that's a problem. That's a long way of saying it. That's a problem. I will end it here. Alright guys, it's like 2 in the morning, so I don't know if I'm going to do another video tonight. Depends on if I'm up and if I'm active, if I'm seeing anything that strikes my fancy. So, if I don't, you guys have a decent and awesome fucking night, and I will probably see you guys either tomorrow or Monday. So, if you guys enjoy the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe, and of course, you guys can always support through either PayPal or Patreon. Thanks, everyone.